And we're back. You're with the Roll for Mischief crew. As I like to say, your favorite nerds. We are currently doing session 5 of episode 10, titled Minutes to Midnight. Um, where we left off is the party just melted into a tree and melted out of another tree that is deep within dwarven territory, close to a place called Iron Fist Hold. Excuse me. They are hunting for Egner Bosch, who they just learned might be in a spot of trouble. It looks like Leovan used some sort of divination magic to be able to get a direction on where Egner would be. And Leovan said his signal is faint. He may be injured, perhaps gravely. And with that worrying bit of news, your party set off, especially Eridu, who seems to be overcome with this extreme kind of emotion right now. And you guys get going in the right direction, which is uphill. And I will mention that since you guys are out of the grove of trees, the moon is bright enough to where Halifax could maybe think about extinguishing his light.
I think I will. The moment we're certain of where we're going, I'd rather not advertise our location.
Yeah.
I will quickly smother the tip of the staff which extinguishes the light.
Bing! And it's gone.
So we're going stealth, right?
That is the idea that Leovan had set out.
Yeah. So Ellie kind of looks at Ayn, looks at the group. We're not so great at stealth. What's the owlbear population like around here, Leovan?
I'm not exactly sure. I haven't kept up with the owl bears around here recently. In fact, it's been quite a long time since I've been this deep in dwarven territory.
There's an issue in that dwarves are pretty interested in technology and things. I think I might attract some attention.
I see.
Suggestions?
I will allow Ellie to roll like an insight check. Maybe with intelligence, or I don't know, you could just make it like just a general like intelligence based check. Actually, it makes more sense to just have it be an intelligence check.
Why do I have it every sheet apart from the stats? Okay. Okay. Intelligence based. I might have that. Do I have that? Oh no, I don't. Okay. 15.
15 will be enough for Ellie to start to put like a little bit of two and two together in her head, and then she thinks, perhaps if I use that reduce spell again, then Ein could be small enough to where he could be carried by someone.
Yeah. The downside is it lasts for a minute.
Oh, it's only a minute.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sucks. Absolutely sucks.
Yeah. I keep forgetting about that one.
She'll just play it off. He can do stealth checks, and then I'll make him pretend to be an actual owlbear.
Actually, I forgot. Let me pull up this little extra resource that I have here. And oh hell yeah. Leovan looks at you, Ellie, and gives you a bit of a smile as he turns from you to Ein, and then back to you, and then back to Ein, and just says, "You're right. Subtlety is not really your strong suit. I believe I can do something to help. And with that, he starts waving his hands around in this mysterious way. And even though it's dark, it's still illuminated enough by the moonlight to where you can see at the tips of Laven's fingers as they pull around. There are little wispy, shadowy tendrils kind of pulling out of his fingertips. And as he does wider and wider motions, the shadowy tendrils grow and grow and grow. And then he pushes his hands apart like this, and the shadowy tendrils surround all of you. And he casts a spell called Pass Without Trace. Which, yeah, so it is. Let me get it right here. You get a +10 bonus to dexterity stealth checks and can't be tracked except by magical means. And you'll leave no tracks or other traces of your passage. So yeah, that is a bonus that he gives to every one of you. And yeah, he says, I hope this helps, my child.
There are times that I really do miss Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Just when he said, subtlety is not your strong suit. I'm like, she has a suit called subtlety? What?
Go on.
That is classic on. Like, really
classic on.
not being able to understand any turn of phrase whatsoever. That's
I
classic
recently
on.
learned what those are called. They're called, oh god, I've forgotten the name now. Begins with a P, but they're like, phatic. They are phatic phrases. Like, how you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Is a phatic phrase in America, where it's like a greeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Whereas over here, you're right, is a phatic greeting. Again, people don't expect the yeah, I'm okay, or if they do give a yeah, I'm okay, that is also a phatic response. It's not actually I am okay. It is more of a thanks for saying hi. I'm saying hi back.
Okay. I see. So it's like a phrase that kind of has morphed to mean a different thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Interesting.
Like,
Okay,
not your strong suit. We're not literally talking about a suit of cards, nor anything else. We're talking about a thing that you are good or not good at.
Mm-hmm.
We're not playing whist. Come on.
Dude, other people play whist? That's a great game. It's
love
it's
whist.
a great game. Great game.
Yeah.
All right,
Anyway.
so your party is now shrouded in shadow. Just like you want to be when you're trying to avoid detection by potentially hostile dwarven patrols. And yeah.
I'll make a stealth check with a +10, because I want to use this +10.
Yeah,
Look,
I've
you may
also
get the
made
chance.
my stealth check. I'm just gonna make a stealth. No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not gonna talk. I don't have words.
Ace is not good at words right now. That's okay.
No, I'm mostly at a point where I'm like, all right, I don't think Eridu would stealth very well. He'd have to like be made to stealth right now.
Mm-hmm. So your characters head uphill as Leovin has been leading you. Can I get like an idea of marching order?
Well, Eridu's sort of on a bit of a one-track direction, so I'm guessing he'd be in the lead.
Okay.
I think Halifax is on a similar page to Eridu right now. Like, Halifax is feeling very driven to get to where we're going, to help save Aigner and, see more of this weird land that we're in as well. So I think he's going to either sidle up beside Eridu, taking advantage of the fact that we're not in a dungeon corridor, or just behind Eridu, if Eridu's, like, just that little bit faster.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Fuck.
All right, y'all in the back. So you and I are going to be behind Leovin, and Leovin is going to do what he can to give some idea of like left, right, guiding the dudes who are really charging ahead and taking the lead here. What else was I going to say? I was going to say that your party takes at least 3 different forks. Oh, and I was gonna say with the path that you're on, it's pretty wide. It's like at least like 10 feet across. It looks like it would be definitely wide enough to move some troops through as well. You know, and after taking about 3 forks, I will have everyone roll perception checks.
Ooh, that's not
Okay.
bad. That's a 14 for me.
Okay.
That's a 13 for me.
16.
Okay. As you go past the 3rd fork, you are on this stretch that is just a single thoroughfare, going at a pretty decent little climb. And you start to hear the unmistakable sounds of footfalls coming from ahead of you. And Laven hisses at you all. Hide!
Are we still?
Do something!
Are we still kind of within the grove?
Oh no, you are far past the grove at this point. You are on this very exposed mountain path.
Okay.
Ooh! I have a spell!
Okay, let me say this really quick. This whole episode, I've been trying to set up certain situations so Halifax gets to shine. So I want to see Halifax shine right now, like
Hallucinatory
a bright star.
terrain.
Oh,
So, Eridu is going to grip his staff, and he's going to kind of growl to Laven, "Let them come. We seek revenge for the forest they've taken away."
And you will get your revenge at some point, Eridu, but right now we need to protect Ellie and Leovin as we climb this place to get Aigna to safety. Priorities. And I shall raise my staff, and I shall create hallucinatory terrain. This covers a 150-foot cube area to look, sound, and smell like any sort of terrain. Is usually designed to make terrain look like other kinds of terrain. But basically, I get to have extra things appear, sort of layered over the terrain that's already there.
mm-hmm.
So in theory, I could narrow the walls of the. Is it like a gorge thing that we're in?
Yeah. It's like sloping, high, like rocks. Kind of going in this direction from the path. So you could do that,
Yeah.
and then you guys are like hiding in the space between the actual rock and the hallucinatory rock.
That's what I'm thinking. And basically,
Pretty
unless
dope.
they go over and start pawing at the walls, they won't know.
For sure. So does it say anything in there about using your spell save DC to for them to be able to distinguish it as an illusion?
Yes. So the tactile characteristics of the terrain are unchanged, so the air will feel like air.
Yeah.
Creatures entering the area are likely to see through the illusion. If the difference isn't obvious by touch, a creature carefully examining the illusion can attempt an intelligence investigation check against the spell save. Against the spell save DC to disbelieve it. And if they discern the illusion, they see it as a vague image superimposed on the terrain. But basically, they need to be carefully examining it. If it's just like a casual thing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So in that case, what I will also do is grant you all advantage on your stealth checks. Because, so this, the casting of this spell gives you a great place to hide. But there's still this whole aspect of, you gotta stay quiet, You got to make sure Ein doesn't squeak too much or whatever, because if anything else tips them off, they will start to examine it. So you guys still need to make stealth checks, but it's a great, great help to have this spell, and you guys get advantage.
Cool.
Yeah.
I also activate my Heart of Disguise to look like a dwarf, presuming that if they do come down here, they're probably going to be dwarves.
Good thinking.
And when Halifax said what he said, Eridu kind of shook it off a little bit, and of course, Halifax, you're right. Priorities first, and then he'll obediently follow everyone else into the hiding place. And I rolled a 32 for my stealth check.
That's a 30 for Drew with the plus 10.
Yeah.
Holy snap, dude.
I got a dirty 20.
Oh, wow.
I got a natural 20.
Oh, my God.
I got a 15, but I also have all the bonuses already.
Oh, my goodness, dude. This is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Oh,
What?
I need to roll one, right? This could be why we let the team down.
Yeah, I mean, he gets advantage and a plus 10, so... Yeah.
Yeah, well, we have some amazing bonuses right now.
Amazing
On top
bonuses.
of all rolling really well.
Mm-hmm.
25.
Okay.
So our lowest is a 25.
Yeah, pretty much.
Assuming
And
Leovan doesn't roll like crap.
Leovan rolled great.
Okay.
Don't worry about him. And before, like in this whole period of time while, like, kind of like right after Eridu responded to Halifax, as you guys slink up against the rock wall and try and make yourselves as flat as possible, Leovan will look over to Eridu and just hiss at him. You are letting it get to you too much. You cannot let the Feywild into you that much. It will consume you. Be careful.
I don't know if I can help it. I feel like my mind is not fully here after the sacrifice that I gave. I don't. I am sorry. I will do what I can to keep things together for the sake of Hector, for the sake of our mission at hand.
You must. And at that, the footfalls grow louder and louder. And round the corner, up the hill from you guys, unmistakably, there is a dwarven contingent marching on down the hill. They are led by a very burly-looking dwarf who's got shinier and better-looking armor than the other ones. And he's got a thick brown beard that is intricately braided and has several large brass rings inset into the complicated knots. This is one of the more glorious, bushiest dwarven beards that you've ever laid eyes on, really. And as he is leading his little battalion or so, you see that he has no less than 10 dwarves behind him, all gussied up in a similar looking kind of armor. They all have impressive looking axes at their sides. And they're wearing this like heavy like scale armor. And the leader of the pack, as he heads down, he is got his eyes squinted and he's looking on all sides of the path, making sure that everything's chill. And they reach closer and closer and closer and closer to your position. Beads of sweat start to drip down your faces, off of your chin. You hold your breath. And they march right by you without any provocation whatsoever. The footfalls start to die down as they reach further and further down away from you. If anyone looks like they're about to move because they think the coast is clear, Leovan will like put his hand out and just hiss a little bit, like, "Wait, wait." And he waits until the footfalls have all but gone from your from earshot. And then he takes a deep breath, looks over at Halifax, and says, "Very clever, my child. You are a resourceful one."
Thank you. I do like to keep a few tricks up my sleeve.
We shall be off. I hope that they do not have more than one patrol happening in the dead of night.
Me too. That spell's difficult to get off.
And so you're off.
I wonder how long the hallucinatory terrain will last. 24 hours.
All right, you got a nice little hiding spot, for the next 24 hours if you need it again.
Sweet.
All right, your party heads on up the hill a little more, and there's about another 2 or 3 different forks that you take, and then Leovan motions you all to slow down a bit and says, "We are getting much closer, and as we approach much closer, we must be wary of some of my old magics that may still be in place. The alarm that Agner tripped was just one of the precautions that I set into place so many years ago."
What else are we likely to expect here, Leovan?
Some nature-based traps, if you will. Nothing too lethal. Merely designed to slow and distract invaders. Back then, so many years ago, we wanted this place to be left alone. Obviously, we failed in that goal. As you guys pass another fork, how about we have a perception check from everyone?
Another dirty 20. You muted, Kerry.
Sorry. Can I have asked Leovan just before? Sorry.
Yeah.
Are we walking the way Igna walks, or are we going in a different way?
There are many paths to Iron Fist Hold. I cannot be sure if this is the exact one he walked. I only know that he's up there.
Okay.
21 is what I got.
Okay.
Was it perception? Yeah.
Perception.
16. And Ian has a decent perception. He's trained.
It is kind of dark, so it was like a higher DC, but Eridu and Halifax both see. So you guys are like taking a right fork at this time, where Leovan was trying to warn you about his different traps or whatever. And as you guys are just about to, take the right fork, you two look off into the distance in the left fork, and you see that there is an obstruction far up the path. And with your sharp eyes that are adjusted, to the dark light, you see the detail of it. and it looks like several thick, thorny vines have burst up from the ground and from all sides, and it is just completely blocking in this path. And Eridu, since you have the better dark vision, you see a little more detail, and you see that the whole center of this thorny mass of vines has been hacked apart.
Gotcha. um, it was Ellie who asked if this is the path that Edgar took.
Yeah.
Eridu will just abruptly turn to her, in the dark with human. You don't have dark vision, so your eyes probably adjusted just enough to see within a few feet from you. Suddenly, Eridu's face is like right next to yours. When he says, "I do believe Agner has taken the other path. It appears as though he has set off one of Leolin's traps."
Is that the way we want? Are we gonna go the same way with him?
I believe following Leolin might be the wiser choice, as he knows where his defenses are at, and would be better served in subverting them.
That's true. I was also thinking that if he's already walked that way, he's probably set all the ones in that path off. So
It may help us to go that direction. We might get a better idea of how exactly he is injured.
and what he did on the way.
Yes.
Quick, sort of play. Well, let's say sort of play question. Play a question that could also extend to a character question. The general wildlife here. Does it seem to be present? Like, do we get like birds and beasts and general bugs?
Yeah, in this area there is more of the wildlife presence. If your eyes are adjusted well enough, you may even see a cute little family of like mountain goats over there on a different little ridge or something like that. You know, like yeah,
What is
there's wildlife
the
around here.
nearest animal?
What is the nearest animal? It is an owl that is sitting on a rock about 15 feet above you to your right.
Not anymore. Tobias. I am going to send Tobias into the sky.
Okay.
And I am going to wog into his eyes and see what I can see from up high. Get a bit of a clearer view.
Okay.
While Tobias is doing that, Eridu is going to make a symbol with his hands, and then from the back of his throat, make a sort of cooing sound that seems to be an imitation of an owl's hoot. Upon doing that, I'm going to cast Speak with Animal.
Okay.
And attempt to communicate with this owl.
Okay. Well, I will do the dialogue with the owl first, and then I'll give Halifax the bird's eye view, as it were. Actually, you should just have the conversation as the owl. I think I'll step out of that. You seem to speak owl a lot better than me.
I think that was a little more dove. It's been a little while since I've spoken to a dove, but that sounded
been a
like a hoot. Than a
Yeah.
hoot.
Mhm. Okay, so yeah, let's do the dialogue with the owl. The owl will look at you. You know, it's like its body is like this way, and it goes like.
I think this is stepping out of the bounds of the spell, but I'm going to go ahead and say that Eridu is going to mimic owlry, in an attempt to sound like an owl. Eridu will ask, "Have you seen someone come through here in the last few days? A large, two-legged, perhaps carrying a sword." I mean, I'm gonna do my best to animal explain this.
Who? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. I was gonna do like an owl pun, and then I was like gonna be serious, and then I did an owl pun. No, who? Just
Yes,
kidding.
that is what I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah. No, the owl actually seriously answers you and says, "Big two leg. Days ago." Or maybe he'll say moons ago. Moons ago.
There you go.
Big two leg. Crashing his way.
Was he alone?
Yes.
And how far did he go?
I have not seen him yet. Or
Which
since rather. I have not seen him since.
way? Which way?
And then the owl merely points its beak up farther uphill from
In
your
the-
position.
Direction that we had already established.
I mean, he's not like really specifically pointing down a path. He's more pointing up to just like the top of the hill
Oh,
or
okay.
the top of the
Alright.
mountain. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do know for a fact that Eridu is coming through here alone, which means that
Egner.
Theala has left him before he got this far. And I believe he made it down that path. We can decide if we want to follow him. However, then you know this area better than the rest of us. What do you suggest?
Well, you make an incredibly good point. And he's looking at Ellie. You're making an incredibly good point about taking the path where Egner may have already tripped everything. It would be a rougher go with more obstacles, but they would be obstacles that we can see and no surprises, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, Leovin's officially on board with backtracking a little bit and taking the path more traveled by Egner.
Does mean that we're interacting more with activated traps. That's the...
But is that not okay? Because one, we might be able to see them or see the effects that happen. So say something exploded with fire, we see that the surroundings were a bit more burned. Or they might be a one-use thing and then they're gone. Or like, or we might even just be able to see where there's been like a scuffle somewhere, and so we might be able to see something is coming up, or blood spill or something. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
rather than going in blind
Very
and
true.
something happening.
Very
For
true.
sure. So let me flip
yeah.
over. Let me flip over to Tobias.
Mm.
Tobias is up in the air. Tobias is making larger and larger concentric circles, getting a lay of the land. You are able to see the path that you guys had come down, the several different forks. You know, you're even able to see the distant, moving, almost like ants of the dwarven contingent that passed you down. Then they're downhill. You also see another dwarven contingent patrolling around, but fortunately they are placed much farther over on this one side. You know, it's like essentially the kind of situation that's going on is, I should say that Tobias, as he gets higher, he sees Iron Fist hold. It's pretty much like the top of this mountain has, you know, where there would be the summit, it's like the summit itself has been carved out, you know, kind of like how you'd have a huge block of marble and you would carve out the excess to make the beautiful statue of David or whatever. It's like there was the summit and they saw the fortress held within the stone and they carved off all of the excess so that the summit just perfectly leads up to this impressive looking fortress. So you see Iron Fist hold at the summit, and you see that around the perimeter, that like pretty much like, I mean, at least on the side you're on, there are several paths, something like 6 different main paths off from the top, and they all just snake down, just like they're like spider webbing down the side of the mountain. There's so many different forks and different things. Your intelligent mind starts to work at this idea of like, oh man, this is the most defensible place ever. You know what I mean? They're on top of this summit, and if they know like this like system of paths as well as they might, then like they could just totally like control any, or repel any siege. They have all these different choke points. You really start to marvel at the whole situation as you get a bigger and bigger picture of it. Is there anything that you want to try and zoom in on?
I suppose yes. The castle itself. If Tobias can get close enough with me, using his senses. If not, then I'll send him ahead and just have him come back and relay the information. But I'm wanting to see if the castle is currently manned, or if the dwarves are just patrolling around the castle. Like, are there dwarves at the castle gates? Are there any like through windows that we can see, arrow slits or something? I just want to see what the situation in the castle is.
For sure. So it's only like within 100 feet of you that Tobias can be while you're doing that, right?
While I can see through his senses.
Yeah.
I can send him away, and he comes back, and he can telepathically share like feelings with me.
Oh, okay.
He's not like an accurate spy.
For sure.
In that sense.
Rah! Dwarves! Rah!
Yeah. And I'll be like, how many? And he's just like,
Dwarves! Rah! Okay, so I'll say I'll do this like kind of compromise and give you like some level of detail, but not every level of detail. So as far as like being able to see if dwarves are actually inside, like being able to look through arrow slits, you can't get close enough to make out that level of detail, but you can be close enough to see, generally, is there anything popping above the battlements, and are there any figures outside of the main gate? And the answer to both of those is no, that you can see. There are no figures there. As far as that other dwarven contingent that I had mentioned, they are far enough away and off to the side where it's really hard to say if they started up at Iron Fist Hold and went down, or if they're coming from an entirely different place and they're just patrolling through this area.
I think I'm gonna keep that to myself for now, and simply say that between us and Iron Fist Hold seems to be clear of dwarves. So we just need to be wary of traps.
All right. And then they will probably relay to you that they're kind of changing their tack and going to be going through the other path, rather than the path that Laven was originally leading you down.
Either way, we should be able to avoid accostation by dwarves and any passing vagabonds, layabouts. The unclean masses. Sorry, Hilovax is sort of slipping into his Azamar roots there.
Just like an Azamar. Okay, so you guys backtrack and you take the path that Egner obviously went up, and you find the first obstacle was exactly the thing that you had seen earlier, the mass of vines that have grown up from the ground, out from the sides, inexplicably out of the stone, and wrapped themselves around each other as to make this huge wall of thorns. But the whole middle part of it has just been brutally hacked apart, and there is somewhat of a space in the middle that you could squeeze through. Anyone with a high passive perception will be able to see, and I might just give it to whoever is the highest passive perception among you all.
Mine is
Fif-
17.
No,
That's
30.
probably the highest.
Mine's 19.
Okay, Ellie.
Oh, shit, what?
Ellie, looking at the ground, sees excuse me, sees drops of blood that have definitely dried at this point, but there's enough blood around here to where it's noticeable. If you get down on the ground, it's like that doesn't just look like this, it looks like that.
I stop everyone and say, there's been blood spilt here. There could be something worse.
And do any of us have any way of checking to see if it belongs to Agner? Because my magic doesn't do that.
I don't think so. So I think I have anything.
It seems like a little advanced science for the D&D world. I know
Right.
that Egner's an A-positive blood type.
I don't know. Should we go back and try and get that Fae lady?
Just come here and taste this blood for us real fast.
No, I want more of Eridu's blood.
I mean, you could have some more of that after you drink this guy's blood and then tell us that it's his.
Wow.
And then just keep eating Eridu.
Yeah. So Leovan will get in front of y'all and see if he can try and do something about this. Gosh, what is he going to do? He's going to open his hand up like this, and he's going to conjure a huge flame in front of you. He's going to create bonfire, and then with a start, he'll snuff it, and he'll say, not the most subtle approach. Is there any other way we could stealthily clear this obstacle?
Do we know what the obstacle is?
It's a huge wall of thorns
shit,
that's in
it's
front
on,
of you.
right. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, there is a large chunk of it hacked away, right? We could just make our way through that carefully.
Yeah. You'll take like a little bit of piercing damage only.
Yeah, but I just,
Only a little bit.
why don't we just go through the hole already in the thorns?
Very well.
Could I try using Frostbite, which is basically like the ice version of Firebolt, to make it a bit more brittle for us to bash at?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You can. So
Awesome.
you use that, and in fact, Leovan also has frostbite. So he will say, "Brilliant, my child, brilliant," and he'll join you. And you guys chill the vines so much they become completely covered in frost and brittle, and yeah.
Sub-Zero that shit.
Oh yeah. And then I don't know. I would say that maybe without any kind of order whatsoever, Ein just comes up and just pushes it with this big old owlbear paws, and just like just crunches the whole thing apart and clears a huge space for you guys to make it through.
Nice.
All right.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Excellent. So after you guys do that, I'm just going to kind of gloss over a couple of the other ones. Like, since you guys are going down the path with the traps that are already tripped, there's like, it's stuff that you can figure out and get across. So there's one in particular. There seems to be a lot of earth-related traps. So there's like one where there's just an enormous pillar of earth that has been like it's a cylinder. It's just like a cylinder that just looks like it went just up, and it's like blocking the path. And you guys find a way around that, and then there's another one which is just your classic like pit trap, just an inversion of that, and you guys find a way to get over that, you know?
An inversion of the pit trap.
No, an inversion of this one.
Oh.
So you have one where it's just like a huge pillar going up, and then you have the inversion of that where it's just a big pit trap.
Right. I was going to say, an inversion of the pit trap would be like, you're on a platform and the whole world disappears.
Yeah.
So
Well-
these are activated presumably by Igna.
Yeah.
So it looks
What's-
like. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say what's at the bottom of the pit trap.
At the bottom of the pit trap, there are a couple of animals, like a mountain goat, and like a couple of other animals that are native to very mountainous terrain.
How far down is it? And are these animals now dead?
It's a good 10 feet, and most of them are dead. Maybe there's one that just barely has signs of life.
All right. I'm gonna go down the pit trap.
Okay.
Just do my monk thing and walk right down the wall.
Just like you can do.
Getting there, checking the animals, making sure. Sorry, I just saw the Agner's bones comment. Making sure there's no signs of Agner having fallen down here. So I'm assuming that'll take an investigation check.
Igner bones. Yeah, definitely do an investigation check.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and not even roll the second dice because that's a natural 1.
Okay.
I can't roll much lower than that. So that gives me an investigation of 3.
You don't find any bones, but you do find that one of the animals down there that is still alive is a kind of like a big cat, like a mountain lion, essentially. And
Okay.
it's down there, and it looks like it was dead, but it is definitely not dead. And you only notice that when your hand is right next to its mouth, and it goes out to snap at you. And make a dexterity saving throw.
Alright. Well, 16 was my lowest roll, so that would be 20. Like that, I'm not 23.
Okay. So that's enough to jerk your hand back before it gets snapped by the angry-looking mountain lion that you thought was dead, and you can use your reaction to just scramble up the wall if you want.
Well, I don't know if that's what I want to do. Alright, I'm gonna cast Speak with Animal again,
Okay.
and I'm gonna, I'm not gonna take the time to cast this one as a ritual.
Uh-huh.
I don't really have it. I'm going to kind of put my hand out and make some cat sounds
Mm-hmm.
and say, I can help you, but you have to be still and not eat my face.
I'm so hungry. I want to eat your face.
I can understand, but here's your choices. I heal you and help you out of here, and you go off into the bushes and find some other prey, or I leave you here to die slowly. So the only choices I give you.
Okay. I will live to hunt another day.
Can I insight this thing?
Sure.
Got my dice too. That's great. Alright, time for a new dice because I lost that one.
Yep. It's just gone to the world now.
Yep. Both of those were at 11, so it's 18 in total.
You briefly wonder if an animal like this has the capability to lie, and then you also realize that even if an animal had the capability to lie to you in this way,
Yep.
this animal looks too exhausted to try to be up to any funny business.
Okay. Um, in that case, I am going to take my staff and put it on the creature and extend. Let's call them 3 of my healings or my charges.
Oh, damn.
So that's going to be.
Man, this mountain lion is something special to you, man. I love it.
Oh, well, that's a thing. Cure wounds 3 times. Where are my d8s? Oh. Do you actually even care about these?
I mean, if you are gonna spend 3 charges, I'm gonna say that's a pretty good amount enough of health generally. So it springs up like a little spring chicken. That's what that does, and it gives like a very satisfied sounding yowl.
I'm gonna walk up the side of the wall and turn to it and say, "All right, now it is time to get you out of here. Do not be alarmed, and just hold still." And then I'm gonna swirl up my, have my tattoos swirl around again and make that rope of water, and I'm just gonna quickly lash that around it and yank it up with that.
There you go. Good old water whip action.
Yep, and I'm hoping you're gonna go ahead and just let me not deal damage to it.
Yeah. I think that's totally fair to say an ability like that you can use in a more benign way.
All right.
You know.
Especially considering I'm using key points to do it.
Yeah, for sure. So you reach down, grab it. It looks very confused, and you remember that big cats like this, I don't know, at least this kind, don't enjoy water very much. So now you're wrapping it in water and pulling it up. But it sets down and looks very stoked to be out of the pit trap. And Leovan looks at you, Eridu, again, and just says something like, "You continue to surprise me, young one."
Good. Continue to be surprised.
And
And then I'm gonna bid farewell to the cat.
that big old cat runs off in search of prey because it's still quite hungry. And your characters carry on further up the hill until you pretty much reach the entrance of Iron Fist Hold. You come up to this point where the like I mentioned with Tobias looking at it, there's like the 6 different paths that all lead up to the summit. And right when you get up to the summit, there is a wide open area that just, it's like there's the walls, and they slowly come in like this to a choke point. And yeah, if you're coming out of the choke point, then where it widens, that's where you have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ways to get down the mountain. So you're coming up on this one, and you reach this flat spot, this plateau, and you see wide stone walls, very, very tall stone walls in front of you, and they're coming inward to this choke point. And then at that choke point, there is a tunnel, and you can see that deep enough in the tunnel, there is a big stone door. And the stone walls, they get kind of high, like 15 feet or so, and then they start to slope off in this way, and then it just becomes Iron Fist Hold. There's like this whole thing where the natural stone walls totally meld and are sculpted into the walls of the hold. Again, it's like this whole idea of like the whole thing's just carved out of the summit. It wasn't really built. It was carved, the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's got solid foundations.
The most solid foundation you could possibly have for any building ever. That's
A
what it's got.
mountain.
Yeah, seriously.
Huh. I must admit, I love the visual of this.
I dig it too.
Yeah. Laven, do you recall placing anything near the door?
I do not. But again, I was not working alone. I was working with the dwarven druids that lived here at that time.
Yeah. I will cast Unseen Servant.
Okay. How far away are we from the door?
I would say you guys are a good. Well, you got a good like 60 feet until the tunnel entrance, and then it's maybe like 20 feet from through the tunnel till the door.
Okay, can we get a little bit closer, or is that too far out in the open?
I mean, you're gonna have to do that at some point. So
I would like to send the Unseen Servant through first.
okay,
Because if there's just like something to sense a being moving through a space, or something like knocking things out of the way, tripping wires and that sort of thing, Unseen Servant can take the front.
okay.
Can I, in combination with that, try and sneak 30 feet closer to the entrance of the tunnel,
Sure.
and cast Detect Magic on myself? So I can try and see, like, if something happens to, like, as the servant goes through it, like, flashes of magic or something.
Yeah, so you still have the pass without trace going, so go ahead and make that stealth check with the plus 10 bonus to ya.
Ooh, it's only 16.
Okay. And you guys, the unseen servant, which once you cast detect magic, you're able to see very clearly, even though it is an invisible thing. If you have detect magic on, you totally see the aura, or however you want to think of how Ellie like visually takes in that kind of information, but you see the vague form of the unseen servant that's moving forward. From Drew's perspective, nothing really happens as you send your unseen servant further and further and further in that direction. Ellie sees the unseen servant going into just darkness. You know, it's not like a void or whatever, but it's like where the unseen servant is going, you're not seeing any other magical fields that are active in the tunnel mouth or anything. I would like Ellie alone to make a perception check.
16. I'll get into this.
Okay, so let me roll something real quick. Oh yeah. All right, so it's kind of like a, I don't know, I'm trying to split this middle ground where it's like you didn't necessarily fail, but you also didn't really succeed. It's kind of like this kind of quasi middle ground thing. Something in the corner of your eye leads, like you were so focused on the unseen servant that you're putting a lot of your attention on there, but then there's something in the corner of your eye and you look up and there's an unmistakable signature of like 4 different things, and this is coming from the very top of the slope where you got the walls and they sloped this way and it becomes the part of the hold. So this is like 15 feet up, like on this slope essentially. You see the unmistakable signature of magic items from this distance, you can see that one of them is shaped like a crossbow, and furthermore, you see another magical signature that looks like it's a crossbow bolt, and it's headed right at you.
Fantastic. Okay.
Protect me, invisible servant!
What am I doing?
Well, does 16 hit your AC?
It doesn't.
It does not. Alright, so you see the magical bolt coming at you just quick enough to step out of the way, and as the bolt lands, like you hear it whiz by your head. You know, you were that close to getting nailed. As soon as it thunks into the ground right behind you, a huge plume of darkness springs up and encompasses you, plunging you into darkness.
Awesome.
And the rest of your party totally sees that go down.
Dude. So, how... I mean, is this like a momentary darkness explosion, or is this like it's now enveloped in darkness?
It is a la the spell Darkness. So I think that's like a 10-foot kind of thing.
Yeah, 10 or 20 foot radius.
Yeah, it's more of like a contained thing. It's not like completely taking up the whole area that you guys are in. You know.
Excuse me. Oh,
I was away for a moment. I missed the triggering activity.
So
action.
Ellie had gone up, snuck up like 30 feet closer, so she's kind of exposed, like getting closer to do detect magic. And so she was detecting the magic of the unseen servant, and then she saw something out of the corner of her eye, and she saw unmistakably a magic-looking crossbow, and then more importantly, a magic-looking crossbow bolt that was heading right toward her.
Okay.
But it missed her, hit the ground, exploded into a cloud of darkness, as the spell Darkness would do.
I think Eridu, acting on reflex, would just charge forward to grab Ellie and pull her free of the darkness before even, being aware of what it is.
Okay.
Would you like me to make any rolls for that?
I would like you to, just like maybe make a acrobatics check to just like see how quickly and dexterously you can spring into action.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a moment for me to use my, no, I'll save it. Save it for later. Okay, natural 1. So that's, I think that's 8.
Nice.
I believe. No, it wasn't that. It's a 4.
Do you want to use your inspiration?
No.
No. Okay, cool.
I was thinking about it, but I decided not to.
Okay. So, I'll say that you run forward, but then you trip over a rock and you stumble a bit, and then just as you're going to try and get your grounding again, another crossbow bolt comes by and whizzes past your head, missing you, but thunking into the ground and springing up another cloud of darkness around you.
Okay. Is there anything that would make me believe that they're intentionally missing? Like they aren't designed to hit us, since that's 2 shots that haven't actually gotten there.
I mean, it seems like the kind of ammunition they're using, it's going to be useful to them whether or not it hits you.
Okay.
Yeah, you get the impression that even if it did hit you, it would do the same thing with the darkness effect.
Yeah.
And
we just have a crossbow bolt in us as well.
Yeah. So you guys can go ahead and maybe roll some initiatives.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have a disadvantage on that.
You don't? Oh, because they're just ability checks.
Yeah.
Or okay.
16. 16 again. All in a row.
Just 16s all over the place. Okay. Wow. full disclosure, that last attack roll against Eridu was a 1. That initiative check I just did was a 1. Rolling
Not bad.
ones like a mad motherfucker. And first one is Ellie.
Ah, alright. So did I catch whether it's coming from is there a person up there? Or is it like a mechanized timed or like a trap or something?
With the movement that you noticed of the aura of the magical crossbow, it's moving around in such a way to where it's got to be held by someone.
Right,
It's
okay.
too much intricate movement for it to be just some automatic trap.
Okay. Right. How far up are they?
So they're 15 feet up and off to your left, which, with where you guys are, they're probably like 40 feet to your left and 15 feet up. So the actual distance, I would have to do some math or whatever, but you know, you would. But they're at such an angle to you where they're decently far away.
Okay. I will cast. I'm gonna cast blink on myself.
Sure.
How is that something? Oh god, yeah, alright, I'll cast it. And then, so that's my action. And then, I'll just, like, I'll just run back out of the darkness, back towards the others.
Okay.
And I'm gonna instruct I, with my bonus action, to take a defensive pounce. So it basically, do you know what? I'm gonna do it on Laven. And it means that it imposes disadvantage on the attack roll. Oh no, wait. This is worded really confusingly. It says it imposes disadvantage on the attack roll of one creature it can see that's within 5 feet of it. So actually, it would have to be.
Yeah, so it wouldn't work against range attacks like that.
Can I instead? Well, can I put him just tell him to kind of stand in front of Laven?
Oh yeah.
Instead,
Yeah. Excuse me. At the very least, his enormous body will provide cover for Laven.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So.
Oh, I disappear. I think. Do I disappear?
Do you disappear, or is it next round?
I think it's just at the end of my turn once I pressed it. If I.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and then I disappear.
Facts?
So, do we... Is this from, like, arrow slits? Because we can't really, like, accurately see what's...
You can't really accurately see because you do not have good enough vision at the moment. You could do something to try and fix that and try and shed some light on the situation.
I cast a cantrip. Light! No, that won't work in magical darkness. But, I mean, it could help with, like, being outside the darkness thing. What else have I got? Because I've been looking at my spells, and I don't have, like, a sunlight thing or anything to counter the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
But... I could, because blindness...
I cast magic missile on the darkness.
Yeah. Trying to think of ones where I don't need to pick a target.
Uh-huh.
Ooh. Yes. Confusion.
Okay.
Each creature in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on a point that I choose within 90 feet have to succeed on a saving throw. So I don't need to know that they're there or see them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to try and work out roughly where I think these things came from and cast that spell. It could very well be that this is a mechanical trap of some kind that's being let off here, but we don't know, so I want to try and neutralize it before we take any damage, really.
Very good.
So that's what I will do. So if there are any creatures, they need to take wisdom saving throws.
For sure. I will ease the whole discussion of like, oh, does Halifax really know where they are though? I will ease that by saying that Halifax talks to Ellie really quick and says, where did they come from? Or essentially. Because Ellie has a really good idea of where they are. And she probably with the detect magic sight would be able to just point a finger and say they're right there.
Yeah, I mean, she's technically invisible right now.
Oh.
But she'll sort of shout it as she skids behind
Mm-hmm.
Nine.
Okay.
And then she just
Yeah.
flips out.
Yeah, just says one helpful thing and then she's gone. And then Halifax, boom, will do the thing, do the confusion thing. So, do you say do the wisdom saving throws? Is that what's up?
Yeah.
Okay. Your DC is what again?
17.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. It's alright. As DCs go.
Man, they all fail.
Nice.
Wow, so what happens to them?
I mean, what doesn't happen? They need to roll a d10 at the start of each of their turns to determine their behavior. A 9 or a 10, they can move and act normally. 1 through 8, it gives you different things.
For sure. I will actually look the spell up in a second here. So, anything else for your turn?
I will run up to behind Ein. Next to Leia.
Okay. Grouping up. Everyone's grouping up around the big thing.
Oh yeah. Taking advantage of the cover.
For sure. Alright, so next is going to be Eridu.
So I'm currently in the darkness.
You are currently in the darkness.
Having tried to help Ellie, there are for sure things moving around me somewhere in the distance. Maybe. I probably wouldn't even notice that. As far as hearing it.
You hear a lot of scuffling because there's already been Ellie moving backwards, there's been Halifax using some kind of spell, and then he's scuffling and moving around. So you're definitely hearing activity.
I'm gonna just, cautiously walk backward out of the out of the darkness, and once I can see again, you look behind you, see the rest of the group kind of rallying around Ein. I'll make my way back that way, and then what is going on? What are these motes of darkness? I mean, I guess I did see the arrow, but I'm assuming.
Who are you asking? That's the question.
Anybody.
Anyone.
Who's around. Anyone.
Well, Ellie still has detect magic on.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually why I was assuming Eridu didn't actually see the darts, because she saw the magic, or saw the magic in them.
Depends on if you're asking this at the point where, like, are we saying, because
she's already invisible.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So she can hear you.
Can't really say anything yet.
Mm-hmm. So I'm asking Ein.
Ein is not able to say anything helpful, but Halifax I will allow to make a quick little Arcana check. That's what I will allow Halifax to do.
Alright, to finish up my turn, then while he's doing that, I'm going to ready in action to just move my full movement and attack anybody who pops out within 45 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
I got a 28.
Wow. Halifax is easily able to tell that these are darkness spells. It's a 2nd level spell from the Evocation School, and it seems like they found a way to condense the casting of the spell into a crossbow bolt, and yeah, just make it so that the trigger is that if the crossbow bolt hits something hard enough, it will expel the spell
Yeah.
and cast it.
That's really cool.
Okay. Having that information, Eridu is ready. Also, I want to make an addendum. I've already moved, so
For sure.
I'm gonna call my trigger within 30 feet, since
Okay.
that way I'm not like overdoing my movement speed.
That's cool. That's cool.
All right.
Okay, so next, Leovan, what he's going to do is he's just going to do something defensive, and he's going to use his ability to mold earth to create what will serve as pretty good barriers in the direction where the crossbow bolts are coming. And he'll just help create this like defensive position. So he's got Ein, he's got the other stuff, he's got all of that, and that's what he's going to do. And then it is technically the enemy's turn. And it's hard for you guys to say because there's so much darkness and so much uncertainty. It's hard to say exactly how many combatants there are. Well, except Ellie would know that she saw 4 detect magic glowy crossbows up there. It's hard to say whether it's actually 4 or just only 4 with the magic crossbows. But anyways, what Ellie does see, because you can still see things when you're like blinked out like that. What Ellie does see happening now on the enemy's turn is that you have one of them that is just stone still, staying in position. You have one of them that starts to run up the slope and just runs away from you. And then you have 2 of them that seem to, the crossbows and everything seem to be twirling around in this very topsy-turvy kind of pattern. And then there's the sound of "Ah!" as they tumble from on top of the slope. And they tumble over themselves, and they both land with a crunch on the ground. And as someone gets close enough to take a look at exactly who these combatants were, as you get close enough, you find that they are indeed drow.
Cool.
And that is where we have to close today's session.
True.
Dude. Laven's creepy.
I know.
He's cool, but yeah, creepy.
Oh yeah.
He's creepy cool.
He was a really fun character to work with, because I had a lot of ideas for him when I first came up with him, but I had no idea like how he was actually going to like be as a character. So then I started to feel out this whole like he's creepy, and it's partly because he's so old and he's seen so much shit that he's like not fazed by anything and not really like super emotional about anything necessarily. But yeah, let's say this, he's old school in this old school kind of vicious pagan like way. He's old school.
Definitely seen that.
Definitely. All right, so yeah, had fun today. Hope you guys did as well, and please join us next week, and we'll probably be doing the last session of episode 10. After that, it will be Asa with episode 11, title to be determined.
Yeah.
And after that, Carrie will be stepping in as a new game master for episode 12. And then we'll be back to Drew, then we'll be back to me, then we'll be back to... And that's the way that this thing is going to go. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week for more Roll for Mischief. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.